floor, but that only make him more angry. I've got no intention of being obedient. Still, it'd be stupid to get myself punched for no reason. So I stood up and stood at attention. The fighting's close, is it? You really think... Wait. Oops. The fighting's close, is it? You really think American troops are likely to show up on this forgotten island? Then let them come... Oh, wait. No. My bad. It is Kinzo. The fighting's close, is it? You really think American troops are likely going to show up on this forgotten island? Then let them come right now. That's why I've been waiting for all this time. What's this cowardly look you're wearing? Is that how afraid you are of death? Are you so scared of those Americans? You won't be killing any of them with an attitude like that. I'm sorry, I'm just imagining Soldier from TF2. Sun Tzu said that. I got hit again. Would you please quit your whining already? Filthy cowards. They let themselves be controlled by this inexplicable anger because it was the only way to distract themselves from their own fear. Heart and spirit are any of use when battle becomes hopeless. When trapped by an insurmountable hopelessness, humans tend to rely on several other emotions to escape their fear. For these young, inexperienced soldiers, anger was a very convenient emotion to fall back upon. Anger is the wine they used to paralyze their fear. It made them chant, "Damn the British! Damn the Americans!" as they swung their bamboo spears around and called it drilling. The more wine you drink, the more you need to get drink. Their useless anger continued to pile up day after day without pause. I did not fear death, so I had no need of the wine called anger. This made their cowardice all the more apparent to me. What's that look on your face? Shiromiya, you've lost your nerve down to your very soul. You're a fish, that's what you are. You've got the eyes of a dead fish. However, it went both ways. Just as I was able to spot their cowardice, they were able to pick up on my lethargy. Something said that, and then he perfected it. Oh my god. I wish I had better memory, but I don't. I have shitty memory, so. Is Ushiramiya Kinzo here? The lieutenant's looking for you. Stand up, no slouching about. Double time! First Lieutenant Yamamoto was the commanding officer in charge of the Rokenjima garrison. He was just another filthy coward trying to forget his fear with violence, and would often reprimand his subordinates for slacking off at a drop of a hat. Whenever he was in a good mood and started spouting off stories of his life, they were all about how much of a thug he had been ignoring the rules of society. On and on about how so-and-so was a prick, so he taught him a lesson, or how everyone was so scared of him that he got special treatment. He kept on talking about what a vile human he was as though it was a badge of honor. Ugh, I've known people like that. One time I knew this guy who he was shorter than me, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm so proud that I slapped this girl." So you're proud of hitting women. Nice. Which wasn't. He was a real dick. Normally, I had nothing to do with this lieutenant who I couldn't respect in any way. He'd always hung around his non-commissioned subordinates. So as long as I treated him with a snappy salute, I could more or less ignore him for the time being. Now, the construction project on this island had been suspended indefinitely. There was no longer any use for an engineer like me. Angie! Wait, Angie! We need Angie! Oh my god. Sorry, I barely play TF2 anymore, so I don't really remember the lines. So why did the lieutenant ask to see me specifically? Wait, I don't play it anymore. At that moment, I couldn't think of anything. Ah, Ushiromiya! I hear you're good with foreign languages, is that true? I'm proficient in both English and Chinese, sir. Wow, pay attention to Kinzo's knowledge. I think that's important. The lieutenant liked to brag about his education in front of the non-commissions of officers, but he held a bit of a grudge against me for even being more highly educated than him. Since he also felt uncomfortable about having a subordinate who was older than him, I wasn't exactly the type he'd be willing to confide in. Just the fact that I knew several languages must have hurt his pride. What about Italian? I don't speak that. So you wouldn't be much of an interpreter between me and an Italian person, would you? It should be possible if they can speak English as well. Ah, yes, very true! Have you ever talked with a foreigner in English? I have. Why on earth would he need an interpreter in a cave on an uninhabited island that even our superiors forgot about? His question made it clear that some guest had arrived on Rokkenjima who'd need an interpreter. Good! Ushiramiya, you'll be my interpreter. That's an order! That evening, I found out exactly what he was talking about. That doesn't look like evening. That pointless submarine dock in the cavern had never been used. I was now being approached slowly by the submarine of the Italian Navy. Of course, I knew that the Italians were our allies. However, this was the first I'd seen anything from their military with my own eyes. What was the Italian Navy doing here? Didn't Italy surrender in 1943? What's going on? It was the Kingdom of Italy that surrendered. However, those who couldn't accept that surrendered and joined Mussolini and formed the RSI so they could continue fighting. Oof. The RSI, the Italian Social Republic, also known as the Salo Republic. You know your history. The ignorant often call the Italians cowards, saying that they surrendered the first of the Axis powers in 1943. That's not true. The military of the Italian Social Republic fought bravely from the outbreak of war until April 29, 1945. And Berlin fell just 3 days after that. Far from being cowards, they gave one hell of a fight. Still, I'm surprised the RSI Navy even had a possession of a submarine that could travel all the way back to Japan. Away to Japan, oh, sorry. But I don't care because, even if they did, it's surprising they'd still come out this far. Why would they come to Japan? To Rokkenjima? The submarine was both weather-worn and massive. I doubt anyone had even imagined the foreign submarine would come all the way out here, when we never even had one of our own submarines dock. All the guards on Rokkenjima, of which there were only about 30, stood at attention as the submarine docked. Never seen an Italian military before. Heard a mine or some accident trashed their sub. From what I heard, it sounds like their ventilator broke down. The cabin got packed with chlorine gas. The lieutenant was hinting about there being some very important things in there. You mean like a code machine or some blueprints for some kind of engine? I couldn't care less what they're carrying. I'm more surprised the higher-ups still remember we exist. Hurry up, Ushiramiya! How are you supposed to interpret from over there? Yes, sir. On top of the hatch was this young Italian saluting us. Normally this should have been the job of a commissioned officer, but his clothes looked like those of a sailor. It really didn't look like he had dignity and composure of a ship's captain. That probably meant that all the commissioned officers in charge had died in an accident and had befallen the sub. Crew members crawled out of the hatch one by one, but they all looked pale and entirely worn out. I'm not sure how long ago the accident happened, but being crammed together in a tiny sub filled with chlorine gas for any amount of time can't be good for your health. Not only had the ventilators broken, but traveling about carelessly on the surface of the waters around Japan these days would be foolish in the extreme. It had been like a trip inside of a can of poison gas. Almost all of them were unable to walk without leaning on someone else. It looked like a bunch of people staggering out of a hospital boat. Ushiramiya! Ask them who the captain is! Tell them I'm in charge of this island! Welcome to Japan. Do any of you speak English? The crew members seemed to understand I was speaking English, but it looked as though none of them could speak it. Eventually, someone who seemed to be dressed as an officer saluted. Welcome to Japan. Are you the captain? I cannot speak English. Please wait. The officer answered in slow... Oh, wait. I cannot speak English. Please wait. I'm sorry. I don't know how to... Hold on, let me try again. I don't want to sound like it's stereotypical Italian, though. I cannot speak English. Please wait. The officer answered in slow, laborious English. Sorry. After asking us to wait, he shouted something to his subordinates in rapid Italian. It looked as though he was telling them to get someone among them who could speak English. Yes. No Mario voice. Ushiramiya, what are they talking about? They asked us to wait. They might be looking for someone there who can speak English. At the moment, I heard a high-pitched cough. It wasn't a man's cough. It was a woman's. I speak English. As she came down from the hatch, a woman with a beautiful golden hair said this in English. In this filthy cavern, the appearance of one as beautiful as she was seemed like an angel descending upon us. Welcome to Japan. Is the captain there? The captain is dead. That man over there is the only officer left. My condolences. Can we do anything to assist you? We'd like some fresh air and water. Some of us are still having trouble breathing, and we'd like a place to rest. We'd be happy to help. Do any of the others understand English? The ones who did are all dead. I am the only one left. Ushiramiya, what's that woman talking about? Who's the captain? The man from a second ago. Who's that woman? You translate already, goddammit! Yeah. I mean, she's just a daughter, but still. Ugh. The lieutenant has been yelling like that for a while now. He must have been surprised to see such a beautiful woman appear from a submarine, and more than a little annoyed to see all of her attention focused on me alone. Oh, whatever, Kinzo. It was a mark of how divinely beautiful she was. Sir, it seems she's the only one who understands English. She will act as their interpreter. Their captain is dead. That officer seems to be acting in his place. Who's that loud man who keeps yelling at you? Don't tell me he's your superior. Unfortunately, he is. He probably doesn't like seeing me have such a beautiful lady all to myself. Oh, I didn't expect flattery from an Asian. Your English is superb. I imagine you've been brought up very well. Unlike that rude man who keeps on shouting. They should have made you an officer in charge around here. Racism. Microaggression. The host do not trust what he says. Oh, and I never expect flattery from a Westerner. You're an interesting man. What's your name? Yep. I'll try to tone down what she says. God. Ushiramiya Kinzo. If you don't mind, may I ask for your name as well? Beatrice Castiglione. Welcome, Beatrice. Welcome to Japan. Yes, they are both horrible. That was when for the first time I met Beatrice, the woman who would capture my heart for the rest of my life. So Beatrice was an Italian. At least she's not French. I'm sorry, I don't know why people diss on France, but oh well. Yes, she was the daughter of a high-ranking RSI official. Apparently, their most important cargo was their father himself. Sadly, he had already died by the time they reached Rokkenjima. Why would a high official like that come to Japan? You're saying he went through the Suez Canal and crossed the Indian Ocean to come all the way here. White girl, save me! Kinzo the Westaboo! Instead of the Pocky game, I like to do that with the beef jerky that looks very long like a straw. I forgot what they're called. That's a good point. If they wanted to reach one of their allies, Germany would have been much closer. So why would they make the long trip to Japan? Yeah, Jade, I need white girls. It may have been a part of some ground outrageous strategy. I don't know all the details, but shortly after, I learned that this submarine's mission was far from a minor one. They said that there had been about 60 of them at the time of their departure. However, only about 10 of them, including Beatrice, had survived. Their submarine had apparently hit a mine or something in the nearby waters and sustained a great deal of damage. They told us it had been flooded rapidly with water, which had taken out the batteries and released a large amount of chlorine gas. Their sub had been completely incapable of continuing further, nothing but a massive lump of metal floating by the dock. Italian pussy hits different. Oh my god! Kinzo, no! Kinzo be like, I showed you my 10 tons of gold. Why won't you respond? Since the sub seemed to be carrying something of immense value, the higher-ups ordered us to investigate. After questioning the Italians, with Beatrice and me acting as double interpreters, we concluded this thing of immense value must have been her father himself. I only care about Beatrice. Beatrice. I fucking hate that guy. I can't wait when we read all of episode 7. I'll bitch more about how Kinzo just fucking sucks. Apparently, Beatrice's father was extremely high up in the RSI hierarchy, and it was as though he might have worked alongside Mussolini himself. Though their massive voyage had apparently been some part of some top-secret mission, now that man himself and all the commissioned officers had died, their reason for coming to Japan remained a mystery. Why aren't you white? Why? If only you were white. My internalized racism is showing. My god, Kinzo. Our higher-ups were telling us to investigate, which meant that they didn't even know what it was. Their ship had broken down, their mission was unknown, the high official they had been carrying was dead, and even the Japanese government didn't know why they were there. The Italians' great and perilous voyage had come to a meaningless and utterly fruitless end. Also, Kinzo is like, he's such a hypocrite. He's like, Ava, you're not allowed to be the leader, but if I don't care. If it was Beatrice's child, it wouldn't matter. It can't be my kids from that other woman. That's a relief. I always assumed the seas of Japan would smell like soy sauce. What a coincidence. I always thought Italians had hair made of pasta. Of course we do. You don't know how hard it is to get that perfect al dente texture. I imagine you Japanese all wear spaghetti al nero. I see you've done your homework. In Japan, we use squidding instead of shampoo. You really are amazing, Kinzo. It seems you know of everything. Have you ever been to Italy? Never. I have read a lot of books, though. Oof. Poor Ava. An Asian man reading Italian books. Wow, what kinds of books? Niccolo Machiavelli and Dante Alighieri. So I know, of course, that you're the eternal lady. Oh, what a surprise! You must be quite the bookworm. Does this mean you came from some Japanese noble family? Who knows? You're completely different from those other Japanese soldiers. Microaggression! No, that's just plain racism. Oof. I can tell. You must have come from a noble family. Are you the Ushiomi some sort of Japanese aristocrats? It's like, oh, but you're one of those good minorities, right? Because you're more educated. I haven't heard that. Of course not. They just managed to strike it rich in the spinning industry with recent generations. I didn't study all that as some part of Noble's hobby. I just did it because I wasn't allowed to do anything except read. Playing around with roses and get myself drunk. There had been no trace of malice in Beatrice's words. It had just been a curious question asked to a friend from a faraway country. However, Beatrice was born from a noble family herself, so she could tell. She could see the faintly glooming look on Kinzo's face. Forgive me, Kinzo. I didn't stop to consider why a high-class person like you would choose to take a position of a common soldier. I don't give a damn about my family line. When I die, the name Ushiromiya will have no hold on me, and I will finally be free. Oh, yep, they definitely are. From the 7 sins to like Valor, Beatrice, Virgilia. But Virgilia was supposed to be a guy. And there was like the male version of her, Virgilius, who looks more like Erica and is like is one of the hot guys of Umineko. I'm just kidding. Other than Amakusa. So you joined the army because you wanted to die. You mustn't do that. Your family would be so sad. Oh, I don't care about that. I just care about you, Beatrice. My children are shit to me. And I don't care about my wife either. Did I mention I had a wife? I don't have a wife. I only have you. Oh my god. Family. I have no family. I have a wife for the sake of public... family. I have no family. I have a wife for the sake of public appearances and children. However, I never want any of them. Everything. Everything is a fleeting daydream created by those selfish, greedy elders. So at least while I'm on this island, I can forget about all that and find some peace. I see. Peace. But haven't I spent each and every day complaining that I wasn't sent to the front line and managed to die yet? I can't understand the pain you're going through, but I do realize that my thoughtless words have hurt you. Forgive me, Kinzo. And also, another hindsight, the age gap between her and Kinzo. Because he's much older. And she's younger, so. Forgive me, Kinzo. Yes, those are the words that probably did it. All the Japanese called me Ushiromiya. It reminded me that I was the property of the Ushiromiya family every time they talked to me. But she was different. She called me Kinzo, not Ushiromiya. That's because she's a Westerner, not privy to the cultures of Japan. Not because she just thinks that you're different or whatever. Any white girl would have been good enough for him. And he would have been like, it's time for me to go do that. So maybe, just for the time I chat with her like this, I can forget that cursed family. Kinzo. I hadn't meant to make Beatrice feel guilty, but she seemed certain that her thoughtless words had hurt me. Thank you. Huh? Since you always call me Kinzo, I finally feel like I'm my own man. I think that I finally met a person who truly sees me for who I am. Kinzo, you may be a foreigner I met in a distant land, but I can tell your heart is sensitive and beautiful. If we had grown up in the same neighborhood, I'm sure we would have become fast friends. I'm happy too. You always call me Beatrice, not the daughter of the Castiglione family. We're both from the same position. Her Castiglione family must have been a rigid place as well. Though we came from different countries, we finally found something that we both understood. Do you have a nickname that people close to you use? No, they usually just call me Kinzo. Well then, you should stop calling me Beatrice. All my close friends used to call me Biche. I'd like you to call me that too. Very well. From this point on, allow me to call you Biche as well as a sign of our friendship. Also, Beto, I believe, is a masculine nickname. That's what I remember. Come on. Don't be all stiff like that. We're already friends, okay? A bright smile stretched across Beatrice's face. No matter how many decades pass, that smile will never fade from my memory. So by meeting Beatrice, you managed to regain your sense of self. Or the most people would put it, he cheated on his wife. If you plan to continue being rude, I suggest you get in the habit of covering your butt. After having his butt pinched once more, Will hopped around in pathetic agony. So in your eyes, grandfather, Rokkenjima was always special because you first met Beatrice here. Indeed. If I had never come to this island, I would have never met her. It is surely an island of miracles. More like an island of hell, you abusive, shitty bastard! I see. Is there anything left of that submarine base today? Yes, it's still there near Kuadorian. It's in the shadows of a cove that cannot be seen from outside. After all, fishermen never are to approach this supposedly ill-omened island. It's unlikely that anyone besides me still knows of its existence. It's a 2-kilometer-long underground passage between Kuadorian and the mansion, a remnant of that base. That is correct! There was some nonsense about fortifying several locations across the island and connecting them with tunnels carved out with limestone caverns. I made use of that underground passage and built 2 mansions, one at each end of the island. 2 mansions, 2 families. The Ushiramiya mansion and a mansion for Kinzo released from the shackles of the family. Correct! It was something I needed. Another place for me to escape from the cursed name of Ushiramiya. Yeah, I just took the witch side. Still, I do feel bad for you. It must be awful to have come all the way out here and be unable to fulfill your mission. I don't really know what Papa's plan was. He said we needed to run far away to hide it until the time came. And what is it? I don't know. It was something very important, and he planned to hide it for many years until the right moment. Oh, and he planned to hide it himself along with it. I know because he apologized to me for sending us to live a long time on foreign soil. Oh. Wait. Is that like a reference? Because I'm not sure. I don't think I know what you're talking about there. Didn't that second lieutenant of yours say that you had no cargo in particular, and that you were transporting your father instead? Lieutenant Angelo doesn't trust you or the others. Even I know a few things he's kept hidden from you. He might even know what Papa's goal was and what the cargo is. In fact, he's even more racist than me. Whatever it is, that's a mission for the Italian military. It has nothing to do with us. After all, we're allies. We should be able to trust each other. I have no doubts you're a good person, Kinzo. I even told Lieutenant Angelo you're a man that we can trust, but why is it that men always get so rigid and uptight when they're in strange land? Normally, they're all very bright and cheery people. Ever since we came here, there's been this strange feeling of tension. Lieutenant Angelo has ordered that his subordinates be armed at all times. It's almost as though we're in enemy territory. Oh, like for Umineko? All right. Yeah. I mean, like, when I went through it the first time, I think I got it, like, I got who the culprit was, obviously. But I never cared about the howdunits. And I never really cared about the riddle either. That was true. The Italians were clearly the very opposite of relaxed. The Japanese soldiers watching this began to suspect the Italians really didn't trust them at all. That's normal for a soldier. This is precisely the time for them to straighten up their guard so they don't embarrass themselves in front of a friendly army. They have a person standing watch every time they sleep, and they're still keeping a lookout to make sure none of you approach the submarine, even though it's nothing more than an unusable scrap heap now. It almost feels as though they're clearly prejudiced against the Japanese, and that bothers me. True, they had set up a constant sentry by the submarine and had refused to let any of the Japanese soldiers come near. This hadn't made the Japanese particularly happy. However, submarines are treated as classified in all countries. Maybe it's just natural for them to stop foreigners from approaching it for that reason. They're probably uncomfortable with being made to live in a way they aren't used to. The boat that's supposed to take you back to the mainland is still being delayed by weather and problems up in the command chain. Just how long will it take before they can send you there? We've been told that the boat was being sent for them directly from the mainland, but apparently, thanks to the weather, problems up in the command chain, and the recent air raids, they had no ships they could spare on a forgotten island like this. There may have been political issues as well. After all, the Italians' homeland had already surrendered to the Allies. I didn't know the details. The only thing I knew for sure was that they'd been stuck on Rokkanjima for a whole 2 weeks, and no one had come to get them. Of course, we had some small boats on Rokkanjima. There was nothing physically stopping us from taking them to the nearby island. Still, Rokkanjima was technically its top-secret base, and contact with the outside world had been strictly forbidden. There's nothing we can do about it, and it isn't all that bad, really. After all, if a boat did come for us, I'd probably never see you again, Kinzo. True. To me, those 2 weeks were the first I ever truly lived. The faint 20 years before all seemed to vanish in the sparkle of that pair of weeks. I realized that she'd have to leave this place eventually, and yet the single moment felt so rich and dazzling that I felt myself wishing it would last forever. Yeah, I bet you would, you bastard. Then I heard a voice calling for Beatrice in Italian. It's Lieutenant Angelo. It looks like he wants you for something. Probably to scold me. These days he keeps yapping on about how I shouldn't get too friendly with the Japanese soldiers. The second lieutenant approached, saluting Kinzo, and after glancing at Beatrice as though asking her to translate something, he began to speak in Italian. Judging by his tone, it sounded something serious. Lieutenant Angelo was something very important to say, so he wants to talk about your commanding officer. He wants your help with something. I don't know what. Something important. Got it. I'll go find Lieutenant Yamamoto. Lieutenant Angelo had 2 of his subordinates with him and wore a stern expression on his face. They didn't have to say anything for us to realize this had to be something very serious. I mean, there's like a lot of hints in other places, like the Higurashi manga. There's like extra Higurashi manga, like the Midnight Killing chapter, or like other extra Higurashi arcs. I don't necessarily like to read all those extra arcs, but I will do. But I had the Midnight Killing chapter, so I read it. It's nice. That's it, lift it up! The winch creaked, and the thick chains rang out with a dull clang. Very, very slowly, it was lifted out from the submarine's cargo hold. Now I get it! So this is why those Italians didn't want us near their sub! The first lieutenant and the others looked up at what the winch was slowly lifting up, all of them wearing unpleasant forced smiles. Unbelievable! So this is what Papa brought all this way! Incredible! I've never seen anything like this. The gold! It was a mountain of gold ingots. Yeah, Beatrice should have gone crazy over Will. Willard's the best. Like, And I like to ship Keiichi times being single. Those carefully piled bars were being slowly lifted out of the cargo hold, one group after another. This gold had been their true cargo. Oh, at least he's not Keiichi. I don't know where they're planning to take it. They might have been trying to sneak it into Japan, one of their allies, or they might have been on their way to hide it in some remote area. Was it some sort of strategy, conspiracy, embezzlement? Top secret transportation of wealth? This incomprehensible amount of gold led to all sorts of dark suspicions, but we didn't know anything about the truth. All told, the gold weighed an incredible 10 tons. That was the only truth we could wrap our minds around at the moment. I like him when he's being a supposedly good big brother to Angie. That's why I love episode 8 for Angie and Battler. They had strongly resisted showing this to us. However, the submarine could no longer make sea. It was apparently continuing to take in water bit by bit. I swear to God, Umineko is just gonna be tears from here on out, just crying. 6 was a break from the tears, and then like 7 and 8 are just like after the shortest part of the segment, it's gonna just be like when we finally get to the culprit's tale after like Kinzo talks about his pity party. You think this is torture? These girls got their thighs out. Rokenjima had been outfitted in an extremely slipshod way. We had no means of repairing it. But also, though we could unload the sub, there was no way we'd be able to lift it up again once it had filled with water and sunk to the bottom. Now transporting the gold away had clearly become an impossible goal. They apparently decided on unloading it. Of course, they made no effort to explain the reason behind all this gold. They just asked us to help them take it out. Why would they take so much gold out of the country? Couldn't they have changed the course of this war with this much wealth? Weapons change the course of war, but after the war they aren't useful for anything. Money can also change the course, but it remains just as valuable after the war. There's no longer any way to change the course of this war. The Axis powers will probably all surrender, leading to an Allied victory. Anyone could tell by simply looking at the American planes flying across the sky day after day. However, gold does not lose its value after war. Everyone stared upwards dumbfounded, as the winch slowly lifted the dully sparkling gold. I remember, wasn't it like the Portuguese or like Spain, they found a bunch of gold and they crashed the economy? Or like they crashed the value of gold or something, I forget. Man, my history's off. I'm an old idiot. I'm hungry after all that reading. It's time for a midnight snack. Alright. Thanks for showing up. Good night. And of course I'll check Discord. I like to say words and leave out a letter. Goodbye. I'm only responsible for my own life. Kinzo is responsible for lives. Like he's responsible for the kids that he raises. Yep. And then he was like, I'm gonna abuse my kids. Instead of like thinking, I can find happiness with my children who are innocent and can live their own lives. Like, for me, like, I'd be overjoyed at the fact that at least there are people who they might not be able to understand, but there are people who can be free in a sense. Yep. But then he's like, let me just be a selfish bastard. Beatrice! Beatrice! I hate that man so much. I might keep reading though, since that is true. He is very interesting indeed, despite everything, and very amusing to read. He's the most interesting man in the world. I'm sorry. But I hate Kinzo. He's the kind of character that you love to hate in a way. He's fun to voice. He's a fun, terrible man. Especially in episode 8. Happy Halloween! Master your dignity. Alright, time to read the army World War II people. Oh, yes. God. Which old abusive grandparent can out-abuse the old abusive grandparent? Yeah, no, even Kinzo's more screwed up than that. He's like, oh yeah, you know what I did? I raised my daughter as Beatrice. It's a family tradition to peel off fingernails in our family whenever we piss each other off. As compensation. It's like, oh yeah? Well, guess what? We did something. I raised a serial killer and killed off my entire family. Well, fuck, he has us screwed. At least we kind of still love each other in some way, even though it's screwed up and we have a tradition of peeling off fingernails. Oreo, we had to take the 80-20 split. He was this close to summoning demons. I wonder who's saying that. Kinzo's like, what is this? It's like, wait. How far are you in Higurashi? I don't think you went past 7 and 8 yet, right? No. I wish I could tell you, but you haven't gone past the 7 and 8, so I can't say anything about Oyashiro. Okay, yeah, I can't say anything about Oyashiro until then. So, Ushiromiya, we think that 40-60 split our favor is more than fair. And Kinzo sits for a moment, just long enough that Sonozaki is about to repeat himself. Kinzo fucking bellows. I will have hellfire engulf your homes and crows peck out your eyes if you insult me with such an offer again, worthless mortals! Kinzo, the ultimate Chunibyo bluff master. I started watching that one Chunibyo anime with that one girl who calls herself Rika or something. And then again, I started watching a whole bunch of other animes lately. Again. Anyway. Yeah, he was probably loving what I was gonna say. Who can outbluff one another? Well, then again, the Sonozakis do it too. They just try to outbluff one another. Cool. I can't wait to see that. Sounds awesome. Oh, there was also... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I also remember somebody sending, like, this music teacher, like, the Umineko music. I want to check that out, too. Oh, yeah. I don't even know how to use, like... I don't understand... I took a logic class, and I don't understand Hempel's Raven or, like, anything like a contrapositive. I got a C in logic and a C in philosophy. I'm not very good at this stuff. If I ever have any philosophical thoughts, it's probably because I've been alone too much in my home for too long. Which I was a lot in middle school and stuff. Wait, oh yeah, because, right, Maria childhood. Yeah. Oh, I always love deep dive analyses and stuff. Those are so cool. Oh. I don't understand the twisted logics in Umineko. Right. All instances of concept 1 has trait A and trait B, or if something doesn't have those traits, it cannot be concept 1. That part is fair. Must both traits be concept 1. I remember, like, I also took, like, this liberal arts math class, and I couldn't understand it either. There was, like, that weird contrapositive stuff, too, and I got an F, and I was, like, in college. Like, I took community college, so I was just like, I'm so fucking dumb. I was stuck in community college for 4 years because of math. I understand, like, certain aspects, like Beatrice, and, like, certain things that I, like, hard relate to. Like, oh yeah, I remember that I wanted to appeal to boys, so I made an OC that I think that boys would like, because big boobs? Oh yeah, because, like, Bleach characters have big titties, so I'm gonna draw my character with big titties! Except I didn't have a crush on anyone. It was just for fictional characters I liked. Yeah, most of them are on the internet. I did actually pick up the manga and read it eventually. I just grabbed a whole bunch of them in the library and started reading them whenever I had time. But I didn't have all of them, so oh well. And I had to return them, so. Ugh. But the one thing I always read after the Umineko readings is Confession of the Golden Witch, which is in the manga. I find that one is so important. Like, when I go back and make the Umineko videos, I'm gonna have to make multiple versions. Like, one with no commentary, one with, like, my commentary, but no spoilers, and then, like, a full spoiler thing where I just go off and talk about spoilers. When you solve Umineko by just guessing, because it's just like, I know who it is. The very obvious answer. The most obvious answer. And then, like, let's see. And, like, certain lines just stand out to me. Like, in episode 3, where like, something about a white horse mentioned. I'm not gonna try to just say it straight out yet. Yeah, but, like, it's just, like, certain lines. I watched the anime first. So, like, there are certain things that stood out to me. And that just made me think, why would they point this out? That's just important to me. But, like how George was acting out of character in episode 2, where Beatrice was attacking Shannon and, like, George. And, like, George, he would have stood up for her. He would have said something. So that was odd to me. Like, it's just because there are certain things that just stood out to me. And that's the only reason why I can pinpoint certain things. Because, like, for me, I was just like, I can't solve Umineko. I'm too much of a dum-dum. But, I think the answer is probably the servants. That was my first guess. It's the servants. And, like, Beatrice is a girl. So, like, I'm going to suspect the obvious ones. That was my answer when I first watched the anime. Didn't overthink it. This was like, but why? Because, it just makes sense to me, like that. When I watched the Higurashi anime, by Tatari Higurashi, I already knew who the culprit was. Because I was just like, meh. Because I was just like, yeah, I know who it is. I don't overthink it because I'm just like, I can't solve mysteries anyway. If I had to pinpoint someone, that would be the most obvious person to me. I mean, it's kind of fun to find, like, the hallucinations or other thing. Oh, shit! I shouldn't have said that. Damn it! I shouldn't... Oops. Oh, well. But, like, it's kind of fun to pick between certain things that aren't important and certain things that are important. I already said what I said. I have a big mouth and it accidentally slipped out of my mouth. But I'm sticking with the fact that I'm going to pretend that I didn't say that. And the anime, they straight up don't tell you the answer. They tell you in the visual novel, but they don't even tell you in the anime. So it's just like, huh? So there was no needle, but what was in there then? Like, the anime doesn't even tell you what it is. They tell you in the visual novel. So I was still confused. And, like, they leave out some other important details. Like, there are some hints in episode 1. But, like, they don't say it at all. And they leave out important things. Are you wondering how the killer snuck under his bed? I'll tell you, she didn't. That whole sequence was made up by him being insane. I believe he had a heart attack and died. I don't know. I mean, there are hints in the anime where, like, the anime talks about, like, how... Yeah. Like, there are some hints in the anime that reference, like, what could have happened to Keiichi at the end of Watanagashi, and that's, like, in one of the original anime-only arcs. Yeah, I like Keiichi. Like, Keiichi for me gets better, like, toward the end. I mean, whenever he cares about his friends and he's not pervert mode, and he's, like, actually serious. For Battler, I like it when he's sad and solemn. He's just so much better because he seems more mature that way. I just like him better when he's sad. I like Balor when he's sad and quiet. He seems more mature. Balor is like my better favorite when he's like in episode 8 because he just seems more mature there too. Like, I like it like in the Chiru ones where Balor just drops all the perverted jokes. Or, as far as I remember, like, as long as he doesn't say stupid shit, I like Balor more than Keiichi.